Hey everyone, it's Dr. Lang again. Um, I'm so glad that so many of you loved Refugee, and I really enjoyed watching your Flipgrids and reading the few creative pieces that have come in so far. But it's time to move on to something new. Actually, it's time to start our fourth and final unit called Has It All Been Done Before? Now, some of you may not know this, but when I was in college, I minored in the Italian Renaissance because I love, love, love the writers and the artists that lived during that time. But also during that time, during the late Middle Ages and early Renaissance, Asia and Europe were ravaged by the bubonic plague, also known as the Black Death. I know you would have learned about this from Miss Bisconti already about how it was spread and what the results were, but we're going to look at it from a somewhat different perspective in thinking about how it influenced the writers and artists of the time. The plague was uniquely tied to literature, actually, as the thriving intellectual community of the time tried to make sense of what they were experiencing, the fear and death that was even more than usual. Famous writers like Boccaccio, Chaucer, um, Petrarch, they all mentioned the ravaging plague in their work and sometimes even made it the focus of their work. The most famous piece like this is by Giovanni Boccaccio, which is called the Decameron. And in the Decameron, a group of young men and women flee from the city of Florence to a villa outside the city to essentially quarantine themselves so that they won't catch the plague. In order to pass the time, they decide that each of them is going to tell a story for each day that they're there. And that's why it's called the Decameron meaning 100 stories. So the frame story is about these people self quarantining in a time of illness. And out of that grows all of these beautiful pieces of literature, some sad, most of them hilarious. Uh, but it's all due to what happened as a result of the plague, which is really interesting. In keeping with the Unit 4 theme of Has It All Been Done Before? This is happening again. Our own communities are quarantined, self quarantined in many cases, and people are facing untold hardships loss of work, sickness, fear, and even death. Yet, anywhere you look online, creators, artists, writers, singers, movie makers, poets, they're all putting their work out into the world to get their own feelings out and also to encourage the rest of us. You know, our modern day Boccaccios, Petrarchs, and Shakespeare's are on Twitter, on Instagram. They even have their own YouTube channel. So it might look a little different, but they're actually doing the same thing. They're taking a common societal tragic experience and they're turning it into a source of literary beauty, which has always been done and will always be done. And now we are going to join in that process. So, in my lessons this week, I'm going to introduce to you guys the themes, the concepts, the tricks, the rhythms, the rhymes of some of the beautiful Renaissance literature by Petrarch, Boccaccio, Shakespeare, so that you can contribute to this story. And then you will be writing your own quarantined literary experience in the form of a sonnet by the end of the week. So, follow the path, it's all going to be set up for you, and enjoy.